Keegan Media Productions. See more and explore. Hello again and welcome to another travel video. Now before we can get to where we're going, I need to get a train from Cork Kent railway station. But we'll take a quick short walk through the brand new Horgan Quays development, which is right beside the station. Hi everybody, here we are again on the rail, and we are at Cork Kent station, and as you can see behind me is a class 29,000 train. We're not getting this train here though, it's a class 29,000. We're actually getting a local train that's going to take us to our little destination today, about 8 kilometers away as the crow flies, because today we're going to Cobh. So here's a map of the railway line that we're on, a branch line in Cork City. So we started off here today in Cork Kent, came along here to Glanthon, and the line splits. This line to Carricktool and Middleton was reopened only recently in about 2009, I think it was, sometime around there. And once again, that's a line that went on a lot further in its day too. But we actually didn't go down that path. We went here to Fota, Carriglow, Rushbrook, and where we are here in Cobh. And it's still quite a busily used line, and as you can see, that's Iram Road Éireann, Irish Rail. Iram Road Éireann is not the literal translation of Irish Rail, it's the name of the company. Iram Road Éireann is translated into Iron Road. And so we start the short walk into town, and as you can see, it overlooks Cobh Harbour and one of many statues relating to Cobh's rather sad past. This is Kennedy Park in Cobh. It's right in the centre of the town. It's very well used, as you can see. It's very international flavour with flags, and it has a lovely bandstand also in the centre of it. This is the White Star Line Museum. It's where the ticket office, I believe, used to be for boarding any ship of theirs. And it's most famous because Cobh is where the RMS Titanic last left from in 1912 and was never seen again. The main museum, though, is actually in Belfast, which is the city in Northern Ireland where it was constructed. So many people emigrated from Ireland, including not just on the Titanic, but from Cobh, from other ships like the Titanic and stuff. And the White Star Line is now a museum here, but I believe this is where they originally departed from here. And the Titanic, amongst many, left from this docking point here. It's now a protected structure, but it's not looking in the best of health. So we'll move on through Cobh and we'll have a finer look at it from up there. That is St. Colman's Cathedral, represent the Diocese of Cloyne, and we're going to go up there, and like many towns in Ireland, it's up on a hill with a gradient of what feels like 1 to 2. So let's do it. Here is an example of a really old telephone box that's been preserved, but it doesn't actually contain a telephone anymore, but even more importantly, a defibrillator. So here we are. I've walked mostly up the hill. The cathedral is directly behind me, but I just thought we'd look down over the harbour here, and you can see the town is down here where I previously was, and over in the harbour there, over there is looking over towards Ringaskiddy, and the Irish Naval headquarters are over there. That's where the Irish Naval Fleet is, although a lot of it's out on deployment at the moment. This island here, I'm not going to point to it, but that island over there is called Spike Island. I'm going to talk about that in a little while. It's one of Cobh's bit of history, along with the Titanic and the cathedral behind me. Over there in the distance is Whitegate. All our unrefined oil comes into there and is for the entire island of Ireland, is processed here to make petrol, diesel and other petrochemicals. So yeah, this is Cobh this evening, looking very nice. Sunset starting up there. This is the interior of St. Colman's Cathedral. Now, it was originally began its life in 1868 when it first started being constructed. However, there was a lot of plans changed and increasing costs which stifled its completion. It took over half a century before it was completed. It is also the tallest church in Ireland, with its steeple being over 300 feet tall. This is arguably one of Cobh's most famous streets. It's called Westview. It's famous because of the multicoloured houses down it. In fact, the houses used to be a lot more multicoloured, but many have now been painted in rather more dull beige and browns and greys. But it's still a very unique, beautiful street. So we get to the name Cobh. Where did that come from? Well, during the 1750s, Cobh was heavily used obviously by the British at the time, and it was called the Cobh, C-O-V-E, of Cork, as in it's an inlet, a harbour from way out in Roche's Point, and it kind of kept that name. And then in 1849, the then British monarch was about to visit Queen Victoria, and so Cobh got a name change to Queensrtown, and that name stayed until 1920, till just before the creation of the Irish Republic state, when the name was put back to Cobh. Now, Cobh, C-O-B-H, sorry, has no Irish translation. So it was just done as a rough translation from C-O-V-E to C-O-B-H. B-H in Irish is a V. Now, you may have heard me pointing out previously in the video about Spike Island, just off into the harbour. And it has a long history, monastic included, but in more recent times, certainly in the last 150 years, was used as a prison, not only by the Navy but also by the governments of each day, including the Irish governments. Once the state was formed, indeed, a lot of Irish Republicans were imprisoned there. And it was used as a prison, believe it or not, way into the 20th century, and officially closed in 2004. And so it's kind of Ireland's version of a mini Alcatraz, but it saw many dramas. There used to be a small population on the island, I seem to recall, but I don't believe that there is anymore. But you can get a tour over to the island and then visit the prison itself. And I think at certain times of the year, and certainly pre-COVID, you were able to stay the night there and do sort of ghost type things, and searching for ghosts and hearing of ghosts. Whether any are found is questionable. So one of the most darkest stories of Cobh's past, primarily it was seen particularly in the 1800s, as a place for emigration. Many millions of Irish emigrated Ireland, primarily because of the two famines that we have, which caused untold stress and death throughout the nation. And people sought a better life, primarily in America, where they came to Cobh and got boats and ships primarily to America. The Lusitania was one, which was sunk, and the other was a ship built in Belfast at the other end of Ireland. That ship was, of course, the RMS Titanic. So I think we all know this story, if not from a major film in the 1990s, and probably a couple of different versions of that film prior to that. On April the 11th, 1912, the RMS Titanic left Cobh after previously being at Belfast and Cherbourg in France. It was the last stopping point for it before it went over to New York. It collected some passengers here. It left here with just over, I think about 1,300 passengers and just shy of 900 crew members. And when it left, people went off in hope of a better life. But unfortunately, as we all know, the ship struck an iceberg in the mid-Atlantic. Over 1,500 people were never seen again. So there we are, another travel log over and done with. Thanks very much for watching this. If there's ever a place in Ireland where you can visit more recent modern history in Ireland, I'm talking about the last 200 to 300 years, then Cobh is certainly one of those places with its history of emigrations, Spike Island, and the various other things I've spoken about here today. If you're ever in the Cork area, it's well worth a visit. It's a beautiful town, as you've seen from the shots that I've taken, and it's well worth a visit, particularly with its maritime history as well. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all again soon on the next travel log. Take care. Bye-bye. Keegan Media Productions. See more and explore.